The venerable 1911 has been around for well over 100 years, and many people in the industry consider the 1911 design to be probably the most high-performing pistol design that you can basically get, with an awesome trigger, tight tolerances, and a lot of different features that you can add to a 1911 style pistol to make it go fast and shoot very, very accurate. The 1911 is basically still the king of the hill for all intents and purposes, even in 2025. Thing is though, performance comes at a cost. And because many 1911 style handguns are custom made, at least the high performing ones, to get into some of those firearms and really get a chance to experience what that type of performance actually feels like in the hand, you're going to spend many thousands of dollars, some even in excess of $10,000. And for most people, that's just simply not practical. However, all of that changed back in 2022 when Springfield Armory decided to release the Springfield Prodigy to the market. And though the Prodigy is not a custom gun, it has a lot of the same features that many of the really expensive custom 1911 style firearms have. So today on Armchair Operator Guns and Gears Reviews, we're going to take a look at the Springfield Prodigy 5-inch, as you see right here. Now, let's talk about it. What's going on, everybody? It's your big homie, the Armchair Operator, and welcome to today's video. Now, if you're new to my channel, thank you so much for stopping by. If you enjoy today's content, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. Become a part of the family. We would love to have you. And if you're coming back to the channel, thank you so much for coming back to the channel. I really do appreciate it. And I hope that you also enjoyed today's content. So as I stated in the intro, today we're going to talk about this Springfield Prodigy 5-inch right here. But before we dive into this review, we got to get a little bit of housekeeping out of the way. First things first. Big thank you and shout out to the Bunker Gun Shop. My guys Chris, my guys Frank Bank, the entire Bunker team. Thank you so much for your support. And they are the ones who provided this Prodigy for the review. Second bit of housekeeping. This video is for educational purposes only. I personally am not offering up for sale any firearms on this channel. So with all of that being said, let's get into the meat and potatoes of this video. The Prodigy is one of those guns that most people are already familiar with. So this is not going to be an extensive deep dive with a tabletop review like I currently do. Basically, all I really want to do is talk about how I came across this Prodigy in the first place and my experiences with it so far. So, story time. Y'all like story times, don't y'all? No, y'all really don't. So let me just get to the point. Anyway, every Friday, Bunker puts up their used gun posts. And it just so happened maybe about a couple weeks ago, I was scrolling their used gun post and I saw this particular Prodigy was up for sale. Now, it didn't come with the red dot or the light. I added that myself. Now, if my eagle eye viewers would pay attention, this Prodigy is not 100% stock, and I'm not really talking about the red dot or the light, but more on that in a minute. So anyway, I never had a Prodigy before now, and I've had intentions on buying one just to get my hands on it, just to see what it was like kind of compared to some of my other double stack 1911/2011s. Just never got around to it until I saw this one. I actually saw it for a really great price. So anyway, let me do what I normally do. We're going to do a clear check. As you can see, that chamber is empty. Magazine is empty. This firearm clear. Safe direction. Boom. and we are filming in a safe and controlled environment. I don't have any live ammunition anywhere in my review space. Okay, now back to the Prodigy. So initially I got the firearm to do a comparison video. I noticed that the trigger itself is aftermarket, and while I was handling the firearm, I noticed that the gun has been resprung. And from what I was told, the previous owner put an Atlas trigger in it. So as you can see, we got a red Atlas trigger shoe in there, which is much better than the stock Prodigy trigger by quite a bit. And it also has a lighter recoil spring. If I were to guess, first of all, let me just do this. Y'all hear that? Like, this is so easy to move. Like, look, I can move with my pinky. Like, it's not hard at all. Look at that. My guess is that it has either a 10-pound or 8-pound recoil spring in this thing. The trigger has been done up. I don't know if it does have an Atlas trigger kit. I would assume that it does, because it has just because it has an Atlas trigger shoe doesn't mean it has an Atlas trigger kit. But the reason why I say it probably has full Atlas internals is because this trigger is coming in at a little bit under 3 pounds. So let me just show y'all what I'm talking about here. So that's the take up, and that's the brake. Check the reset. That's it. So the trigger in this Prodigy feels really nice, and the slide feels really nice. I mean, it's really buttery smooth, y'all. Like, it's buttery smooth. So it has a lighter recoil spring. It also has a lighter hammer spring, and it has a lighter trigger. And I noticed that right away when I took it to the range for the very first time to shoot it. So let me just go over what this particular Prodigy came with. Mind you, this Prodigy is used, okay? Typically, the Prodigies come with a 17-round mag and a 20-round mag. This Prodigy only came with the 17-round mag. I'm going to put that back in the gun just for visual purposes. It also came with the Agency Arms optics plate. Now, as you can see, I have a Leupold Delta Point Pro mounted on here at the moment. It came with the Delta Point Pro style plate. Now, typically, from my understanding, Prodigies, especially more recent Prodigies, come out with the Agency optics plate for the Hex Dragonfly. Well, this one doesn't have that. It has the Delta Point Pro plate, which is actually better because I'm hearing not so very good things about the Hex Dragonfly optic, but I would prefer an actual, I don't want to say serious use plate, but you get what I'm saying. A dot that is going to work when you need it to. So that brings us to this particular setup. Outside of essentially what you're seeing about the base gun itself, I mean, it does have the actual box here, and it came with the carrying case, as you can see there, and of course your other accoutrements such as your instruction manuals and so on and so forth, and your customary gun lock. So there's that. But anyway, back to the main attraction here. My thoughts on the Prodigy. So first of all, we really got to give credit where credit is due. Even though I would say, and this is just my opinion, I think Springfield kind of kicked the door open to the quote-unquote budget 2011 market. Because before the Prodigy came out, I think some of your lower cost options to get it to a quality 2011 or double stack 1911 would basically be your Bull Armories and your Staccato P, your Staccato C2, and so on and so forth. Well, a lot of those guns are several $100s, maybe even $1,000 or more than the Prodigy here. And when the Prodigy first dropped, it was like around $1,500. These days, you can find a Prodigy, 1,500 credits. I'm sorry, you can't use monetary denominations on YouTube for whatever damn reason. Anyway, about 1,500 credits, and nowadays you can find a new Prodigy The new Prodigy 5-inch without the optic all day long for somewhere in the neighborhood of 1,100 to 1,200 credits. Well, this particular firearm was significantly less than that. And I'm actually going to do a video about used firearms because I think a lot of people don't really understand how much money you can save by buying a quality used firearm. But if I were to talk about that now, this video would be way too long. So I don't want to get into that at the moment. But just know that that video is coming soon. But anyway, back to this Prodigy. So I'm going to loop in some range footage here. And on the range, I noticed a few things. First thing is the trigger is very well done. As I said, the grip safety on the Prodigy is comfortable too, which I gotta say, the first time I've held a Prodigy in my hand, there was something about the grip safety stock that I just didn't like. It was like a little too rattly to me. Comparing that to the Staccato P, the Staccato P just felt like a more positive engagement. It just felt a little higher quality. But anyway, running this thing on the range, I gotta say, I learned a little bit more about 2011s because this is a full 5-inch bull barrel gun. And running this gun, when I'm so used to running my Staccato P, my XC, and now you're talking about the Match X and then the XP Pro, I can feel the reciprocating mass of the slide of the Prodigy a bit more. I can see what people are saying when they say it feels a little bit sluggish compared to either 4.25 or 4.4 or 4-inch 2011s. I understand what they mean now. But it doesn't mean that this particular Prodigy is a slouch or anything like that. It's actually a very solid performer, at least in my opinion, very accurate. It's just one of those things that I got to keep in my mind is that it's not going to track as fast as, say, something with a shorter barrel and slide because there's just more mass moving back and forth. It's just simple physics, right? But it's been largely reliable throughout. Though I did have a couple of interesting issues, mainly light primer strikes, and I think that has to do with the ammo choice that I was running for the most part. I was running mostly cellular and Bellet 115 grain full metal jackets. I don't know if it's just that ammo or if it's maybe the spring for the striker. Maybe you could just use an extra power spring just to give it that little bit of oomph. Moving right along from there. So one thing I did notice about the Prodigy, it's a bit front heavy because it has this 5-inch barrel, and I would attribute that to the fact of it has a steel frame. Now I will say that in some ways this particular firearm feels better in the hand than my Staccato P. And it actually has a slightly softer recoil impulse than my Staccato P. Shooting that side by side with this, I noticed that the Staccato P has a bit more of a pop, but it's faster because it has a shorter barrel and slide. So it's actually pretty interesting. My best takeaway from all of that is, while having a naturally heavier gun can make it easier to shoot in some regard, it could actually make it a little harder to shoot in other instances. So it's actually really interesting. It's something that I never really considered before now. The grip is cool, nice little texture here, Springfield grip. It can definitely use a mag. I'm putting a mag well on this in the very near future just because I like that extra bit of gripping surface area that a mag well can provide. One thing that I don't like about the Prodigy is this guide rod system. So we already verified this clear, so I'm not flagging y'all. So the guide rod is a 2-piece guide rod, and you need a 5/32 Allen key to unscrew this as you disassemble the pistol. Now, while it's not a complicated process to disassemble and reassemble this Prodigy, to, you know, clean it and so on and so forth, that's a bit of a pain in the butt because now the tool, I didn't have the tool that they normally ship with the Prodigy with this particular one when I got it. but I have Allen head tool sets around here, so on and so forth, so that really wasn't a big of a deal. Now, I do have a 5-inch toolless guide rod system, an Atlas toolless guide rod on the way, and I will absolutely be swapping this out for a toolless guide rod. It'll just make this process a whole lot simpler, because God forbid if you somehow strip that out, you are SOL, trust me. Let's see what else. The sight picture is really good. You know, blacked out rear sight, front fiber optic sight, pretty much the same. A lot of people have reported losing the fiber optic rods in their Prodigies. I mean, I've shot probably, I don't know, maybe about 500, 600 rounds through this thing at this point. Obviously, my fiber optic is still there, and the previous owner shot this thing, so it's still there. It could have fallen out on that person at some point, but for me, I haven't had any issues. And if I do, it's no big deal. It's not uncommon to lose fiber optic rods on fiber optic front sight. Let me just put that out there, having several firearms that have them. So it's not that big of a deal. They're relatively easy to replace. But I mean, all in all, the Prodigy is a decent gun. I have some plans for this Prodigy. I probably at some point will put an Atlas grip on here. I really would like to get an aluminum or steel grip on here, and I think that'll really help the balance of this particular gun. So without the light, I can really feel how top heavy this gun is with the steel frame and that full 5-inch bull barrel. Putting on the light helps the balance quite a lot, but I think an Atlas grip will really help the balance out on this thing. So definitely just keep an eye out for that. I may also put an Atlas safeties on here. These safeties are okay, but a lot of people don't like that extra bounce that you get when you ride the safety. It's not the biggest deal in the world, me personally, but this is a type of gun that I want to add just a little bit more to customize. I'm not going to go crazy with it, but I'm going to put just a little bit more to it just to make it pop. And that's the good thing about lower cost double stack 1911s like this. See, you can buy a Prodigy as is and just enjoy it. You can run with it, you can use it for home defense, you can EDC with it, you can use it for duty. Hell, you could probably even race with it in you know, in a competition if you wanted to. But a lot of people buy these lower cost double stack 1911s, 2011s because they want to customize and make it their own, and they want to soup it up. And I am going to put some additional things into this Prodigy. Like I said, I'm not going to go crazy with it. So all in all, I think this is a good gun. I don't know if I'm gonna do a 1,000-round follow-up on this, because like I said, the Prodigy's been out for a while, and I'm pretty sure most of the people that's watching this video is very familiar with this particular gun. But you will be seeing it in versus videos coming up on the channel, so stay tuned for that. Oh, one thing I will note too, so about the optics. So as you can see, I have a Delta Point Pro up on here now. Unfortunately, with the Delta Point Pro, you don't get the co-witness. Now, I put this on here because I kind of wanted to match the look of my Staccato P a bit, but I might actually put this optic on another one of my handguns and maybe put, say, my Vortex Defender or XL up on here so I can get that co-witness. I'm not 100% sure about that just yet, but I might do that. Anyway, what are your thoughts about the Springfield Prodigy? Let me know down in the comments section, y'all. Let's get this discussion popping. Oh yeah, and one last thing. So earlier today, I decided that I wanted to tune the extractor a little bit. I noticed that the extractor tension was very light. So I removed the firing pin, I tuned the extractor up, so I'm gonna get this bad boy back out to the range and see how it runs. I did notice a little bit of inconsistency in the ejection here and there, so I want to see if that extractor tuning helps that out. I will say that reinstalling the firing pin on this thing for whatever reason is a pain in the ass. It's only because trying to get the firing pin, because you got to kind of mess with it a little bit to get it through the firing pin hole on the breech face of the gun when you're trying to reassemble it. So granted, it's a skill thing. A lot of my other 2011s were a lot easier than this, but I just wanted to note that I might also change the firing pin in this particular gun too, to maybe like an Atlas extra power firing pin. I'm not 100% sure, but I might do that. But I just wanted to put that out there. But anyway, like I said, what are your thoughts about the Prodigy? Let me know down in the comment section. Let's get this discussion popping. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video. This is your big homie, Armchair Operator, and I'm signing out, y'all. Peace.